Welcome to SeizeYourBusiness.com's podcast and videocast. My name is Kevin O'Flaherty from O'Flaherty Law, and I have my co-host with me, Jim Waszak from Success Enhancement.
Hello, everybody.
And I'm really excited about our guest today. It's Jerry Catalano from Catalano and Cabor. He owns an accounting business that's really thriving, and we're going to talk today about combining your passion with your business and hear a little bit about his story, how he built it up from the ground, and now how many accountants do you guys have working with you?
We have a total of 24 staff, and it's in 5 administrative staff, and the rest are all professionals and paraprofessionals.
Yeah. Well, thanks for taking the time to be with us today, Jerry. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your backstory and the firm's backstory?
Okay. Well, Catalano Cabor and Company Ltd. We're certified public accountants and consultants. I've been a CPA for 46 years. And one of our niches is entertainment, and we have a niche called the Music CPA. We have a website called Music CPA, and the way I got involved with that is I was in a rock band in the '60s, and in 1970 I actually did A&R work. And what A&R work is, you go out and look for acts and sign them. And I was working for a company called Zark Attraction, which was a management company for these bands, and I believed in Chicago talent. And I was 21 years old, so as naive as I was, went out and signed acts. And one of the acts that everybody told me about at that time was a group called TW4. And he said, "You got to go see these guys." So I said, "Okay." They used to rehearse in a basement of an apartment building, and they were really good, but they were playing covers. And I said, "I want only original material. I'm signing the acts for original material." So, "Well, we got some. We're not done with it." I said, when you get some original material, I'd like to sign you. You know what that band turned out to be? Sticks. I turned out Sticks.
Okay.
They were called TW4 because there were twins and 4 other guys. That's what their original name was.
Okay.
So
you signed Sticks.
I didn't. That was the thing. That's when I realized that was not for me.
Well, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
Yes, but in that time period, I learned at the time in Chicago at that time, Columbia Records was here, Chess Records was here, Ampex Records was here, ASCAP had an office here. They're all gone. But I got to meet the people at the back end of the business, and I must say, in that era, in the 70s, these people were not nice people. Okay, and I actually was so disgusted with the people, the business side of the business, that I put my guitar in the closet, didn't play it for 15 years. I was really afraid I would write something good, because at the time with the Zark Attraction, I was not only signing acts, but I was a resident songwriter. So if they didn't have original material, I would offer them mine. So I had like 5 different acts at that era that were playing my material in clubs.
Really?
Yeah.
Anyone we might have heard of?
No, I don't remember one anywhere, and that was the problem. It was sort of a message from God. Hey, this is not the right business for you.
Yeah, right.
But later, what I was able to turn it into is, as I built my accounting practice, I said, I know enough about the industry and the back end of the industry that I could help musicians. And so I started getting involved with NARAS, the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences, the Grammy people. I vote on the Grammy, so one of the 9,300 people are a voting member of NARAS. And I started going to their meetings, started meeting the entertainment attorneys in the industry, and they were like, "You're what? A CPA? And what are you doing here?" That's why I write music. They said, But in the year 2000, I wrote a song for Sun Seals, the blues guy. If you ever heard of Sun Seals, he had 7 albums on Alligator, and he recorded the song live at Buddy Guy's Legends for his Spontaneous Combustion album. And Bruce Iglar from Alligator didn't like the recording, didn't like the song. He didn't understand it, even though the song's called "Let It Go" and the basic chorus is "Sometimes Just Gotta Let It Go." I don't know what to understand.
Yeah, right.
But it's a blues song.
Yeah.
It wasn't written as a blues song, but Sun Seals liked it. So Bruce wouldn't allow it to be on the album. Sun was so mad. He says, "You keep that song for me. I want the song." So he went to Telarc to record the song. Telarc Records liked it so much that they put it out as a promotional single for the album to all the blues stations, which was interesting. That here's one guy that hates it, one guy that loves it. And Telarc liked it so much, they also put it on their sampler album. So I had the song on 2 albums. And the album was called "Letting Go." It's still out there. Sun Seals, "Letting Go" on Telarc. And it went on that year to win the W.C. Handy Award for the Best Traditional Blues Album of the year 2000. And he ended up doing it live in the Conan O'Brien show.
Oh, okay.
And that's when I learned, there's a little trivia thing here, is that why, if you watch late night television, why the music's always on last. Because the royalty rate goes down.
Oh,
So
interesting.
they played my song on the Conan show, and it was after midnight. It's New York time, after midnight New York time. And my royalty for that one performance of my song on network television was $1,500.
Wow.
Okay, as the composer.
Beautiful.
If he had played the song before midnight, the royalty is $2,700. Okay, so you can see that the talk shows are saving $1,000 a night. They're saving $5,000 a week just having all the music artists on last.
Did you get any royalties from the Frozen movie that came out? That sounds like
I wish I would have made a mistake and say, "Oh, that let it go.
Yeah.
Wrong, let it go."
Yeah.
It was wrong one. But so from that perspective, I went on to, I started getting work, and I did litigation support for an artist named Maximilian that came to me in the 90s, and he had brought me his royalty statements, and he had recorded an album in Brookfield, Illinois, called on SOS Records. And his song was called Fat Boy. It was #1 on the radio in the 90s. And I had never heard of the guy. He called me during tax season. I brought it home. My kids were young at the time. And they all ran to the rooms, and they all had bought his music. It's like, you got to take care of this guy, Dad. He's great.
Yeah.
So I started building the case, and we ended up finding an attorney to take them to court. And I testified for 5 hours on the stand as the expert witness, and they ended up giving him a check for $600,000.
Oh, nice.
That's how bad they ripped him off.
Yeah.
And as I was leaving the courtroom, the judge called me up to the stand and said, like this, he said, "What do you want, Your Honor?" He says, "Right." He says, he says, "Are you someone famous?" I said, "No, Your Honor. You would have never heard of me."
That's a complicated question.
Yeah.
Relative to me, you're pretty famous.
Yeah. So since that time, I work now a lot with the Lawyers for Creative Arts, which are a pro bono organization, because a lot of, oftentimes I'll get a musician in that's been hurt or damaged or signed a bad contract, and they don't have any money to go to a lawyer. They can't afford it. So Lawyers for Creative Arts is a pro bono organization that will assign pro bono work to attorneys that will help people like that. And really, that's a really needed organization because so many guys sign such bad contracts. I got a call just last week from a guy in Montana who has a recording studio in Montana. And he said that he had called an attorney in Los Angeles to write, because he wants to start a recording label. He bought the studio and asked this attorney in LA to write a contract that he could use for the artist. And he wanted my opinion on it. It was if you heard a 360 contract, you know what a 360 contract is? That's in the music industry, a 360 contract, it covers everything the artist does, okay? So if the artist writes, if the artist performs, if the artist records, the record label owns everything, okay? They own a piece of everything. This contract went further than that. It's basically said, if this guy went to work at Subway, okay? I mean, it didn't say Subway, but it said all earnings, all income, all earnings by the artist belong to the label. I said to this guy, I said, "You really don't want to put this is horrible." I said, "But I can tell you why they did it. They make it horrible in the anticipation that the artist is going to get a lawyer, and they put negotiating points in. That's what it is. You're going to negotiate a lot of that away, but you're also going to have a really strong contract when you get done. And if someone's foolish enough to sign this without getting an attorney, well, then you own them." And the contract was in perpetuity.
Wow.
In perpetuity. I said, that's crazy.
Yeah, that borders on unconscionable.
That's what I said. I didn't use that word. I used the word that started with A. I said, "You want to be an A? That's not. You don't want to do that."
So Jerry, how has this music experience and background? How has that helped you in your accounting practice? I mean, do you do a lot of music related?
We do a lot more. Well, we also branched out in other entertainment fields because of that. Working with lawyers of creative arts, we kind of branched into film. So now we do film accounting, and we're one of the 8 firms in Illinois that's authorized to do the Illinois Film Credit. And the Illinois Film Credit is if you shoot a commercial, TV show, or a movie in Illinois, you get 30% of the Illinois spend as a tax credit that you can sell. Okay, so for example,
interesting.
We did the accounting for a TV show that ran 2 seasons on A&E called First 48 Missing Persons. They're off the air now. And their spend was $4 million a year. Well, their tax credit would be $1,200,000, and they would sell it to Kohl's department store for 92 cents on the dollar. So Kohl's would save on their taxes, and they would get cash to fund their show.
That's interesting. I've never heard of a tax credit that you can sell before.
Yeah.
So I went to your firm and I met probably like 15 accountants with different areas of expertise, and I'm dying to know how you went from being a musician and say, all right, you know what, I'm gonna pick up being an accountant now, to now you've got a staff of 24 and just seems like you guys can handle everything. What was that process like?
Well, it takes a long time. I mean, it takes longer than it takes a while to build a firm. I started out in '71. I was in a firm of there was 2 partners. Me and one of the partners' sons were and they were all of the Jewish religion, and I wasn't, which was interesting. And that was the full firm. And from that, I started there, and I built the firm up to 10 because I became a partner when I was 30. Left him at 32, joined another guy. I left there at 32, bought in with a guy that was retiring because my attorney's father's partner had passed, and he wanted somebody to join him. So at that firm, it was me, a 63-year-old guy, and a 72-year-old secretary who was on Valium every day, and a 78-year-old used to tag. And that's where
And you were like 32 at this point?
Yeah, at that point I was 32 years old, and that's from there I built my firm from that. Okay. And it was, this guy had a great base of clients, and they were at the end of their careers. And the clients that he had wanted more service, and they just weren't interested. They were at the end giving them what they needed, but not what they wanted. So I gave them what they wanted, and I was able to build from that, from that base. And then as time went on, I'm sure that most of my partners thought the music side was going to be a joke, but I persisted and said, I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep bringing in, because, with some of the musicians we've gone through, they don't have any money, or they don't have a lot of money, or they're just starting their careers. And a lot of times it's not a big thing, it may be a small. But from that now, just this week, I just put the offer out now. I just put the proposal out for a band. I won't say the name, but a band that tours regularly that does $4.5 million in tour revenue. So, and from that, they have to file a tax return in every state in the union. Okay, 40 states, because all the states attack.
Everybody wants their cut.
They earned it in that state.
If you perform in a state, you're an athlete. Now these guys are getting, like they said in the Super Bowl, how much Cam Newton owned in taxes for playing in California. It's like $159,000 in California tax.
Wow.
So this is a big job for us, and it's the tax return alone is $50,000. So little at a time, taking the grief from my partners who were like, "Do you really want to do this stuff?" I said, "Yeah," because I think what really launched it when I was successful in the Maximilian case, in getting him his money and doing the expert witness. I got some notoriety. There were a lot of entertainment attorneys paid notice of that, and I started getting more business from more entertainment attorneys. So
you actually built up a public reputation. It wasn't just It sounds. I assume you don't get up to that many accountants without doing some marketing and some networking and stuff. But you kind of made some hay in a famous case, and that gave you a reputation that you could build around.
Yeah, the '90s started. Yeah, that case was famous for me, and it really. It's all on a referral basis, and we get a lot of business from attorneys, like people like yourself. So, and entertainment attorneys, there aren't a lot of entertainment CPAs in Chicagoland. Okay, and you can go to LA and New York, and a lot of people do. A lot of artists, they make it big here. They take their reputation out of LA or New York. Even the attorneys, they'll go seek somebody outside of Chicagoland, and especially accountants. There aren't many here, so it gave me I saw it as a unique opportunity, not only to help people in the passion that I have for the music, because I'm still in the band. I still have I have albums on iTunes. My band's name is The Force, Fource. Check us out on Spotify. and I'm still playing. I just did
What style do you guys play?
We call it acoustic rock. It's sort of like in the genre of Traveling Wilburys or Tom Petty, like that. That kind of style, harmonies, and we use harmonica. And I play 12-string and sing, so it's that kind of. We write original material. We just did a Christmas album last year, and we opened for last December. We opened for Ronnie Spector at the Arcana for the opening act.
So the Force with a U in it, basically.
Force with a U. It's four. Yeah, it's actually 4C, I guess. FOU, 4 with C, because there's 4 of us. It's kind of a joke on words.
Got it. Yeah, beautiful.
So what were some of the challenges in growing from 3 people or actually you had 4, but 3 of them were on the brink of retirement,
right,
to now having this thriving workforce?
Well, it's the same. It's the biggest problem. It's the same issue we have now. Is we're getting some excellent opportunities now, and I can't find staff. I'm having a hard time finding new staff. We have some nice young staff, which I'm very proud of. They're fresh grads, and I have some great interns. But I need some middle people. I need the middle, and it's hard to find those people with 3-4 years out there, because they changed the rules on when you can sit for the CPA. They required them to go to 5 years of college now, and that put a shortfall in our staff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, okay.
And, I've grown it to, we are a family business. My daughter's with me for 17 years. She's a CPA. My son now does our marketing and social media stuff.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. He's all over the place.
Yeah, he is all over the place. And I was shocked. I was shocked at how much business he was directly responsible for last year through the internet. It's amazing how much business last year we got off of Yelp and LinkedIn and Google. And we don't run Google ads. Jim he's on it all the time. And the leads groups he gets, it's incredible. It's a source of business we would have never had before without. And he's just at the cusp, the beginning of this thing. It's just taking off. Now we're getting more and more stuff on Yelp, which a CPA firm getting business off of Yelp. Who would think that? But today's society.
People's first source.
Well, it seems like you've done a couple things in your career that have been a little different from your competitors. I mean, you chose the music route, which gave you a niche,
right?
And having Jim out there,
right,
really being aggressive with business development. Most accountants, they'll just kind of work off of pure referrals, and
right,
if the business comes in, great. If it doesn't, they'll take a vacation, and that's giving you a real competitive advantage, I think.
And it's fun. I mean, you got to have. It's got to be. We're also, we're a serious CPA firm, and we're peer reviewed, which means we still do certified audits. We have to hire every 3 years. We have to hire another CPA firm to audit our accounting methods and that we're keeping up with all the accounting rules. So that allows us to do.
See, he's busy.
Music.
Yeah. No, this guy's.
I was hoping for a more original ringtone.
Yeah. Come on, Jerry.
I really should change that
ringtone or something.
Yeah.
So I know you're busy.
Right.
We'll let you go pretty soon. The last thing I want to hear is just some advice for someone who's just starting out. You said staffing now is a challenge. Everyone would like to have that problem. We're too busy to handle our growing business.
Right.
But over the past several years, what are the top 1 or 2 tips that you give to someone who's trying to grow from basically a sole practice in accounting or another service industry to have a bigger firm?
We grew 2 ways: organically and acquisition. Okay, over the years we've acquired 2 small firms, and that
worked out well.
They worked out extremely well. One of them was a small firm in Glen Ellen, which was an all-female firm, and we actually through that got Country Sampler Magazine was our client for a while before they sold out. Always looking towards, if you want to grow, you want to look at two methods. So there's always a retiring sole proprietor somewhere that's looking to get out.
How did you go about finding them?
Well, in my case, it was all word of mouth. I mean, I got attorney referrals, actually. It was an attorney that called and said, that knew me and says, I know this other county wants to sell out, and, are you interested? And the other case was the CPA firm was a tenant in one of my clients' buildings and was telling them they wanted to sell out. And my client called me.
You just seized the opportunity.
It was organic, yeah. And then the other method is, if you have, it is great if you have a passion for something, whatever it is, and there's an industry for everything, right? So if you have a hobby or you like a certain, I went to college with a guy named David Stein who we went through all our class together, and today he's in California and he has a practice where he only does minor league baseball teams.
Oh, okay.
He used his passion for baseball, and he got a couple of them as clients, and word spread on him, and now his tax season's all summer because he's running around the country managing dealing with all these minor league baseball teams, their accounting issues and how they deal with the major clubs, how they deal with their concession revenue and all that stuff.
Right.
That's all he does. Yeah. So it's another example. Sometimes you have a passion for something. Use it. Everybody needs accounting. Okay, accounting's never going away. I mean, there might be different ways we do it now because of technology, but you still have to know where debit and credit is.
Right.
No matter what the technology is, no matter how many software packages they're going to give us, they're not going to figure that out without us. So there's always a need, and there's always going to be a need for auditing. There's always going to be a need for consulting in terms of business and those things, finance. So it's always out there, you know what I mean? And it just, if you know something you really love to do, and you have to get out there and do it. You have to be involved. You have to have your face there. You got to be you have to go to the meetings or whatever, associations or groups like that, and get known.
I have a question for you, Jerry, because you have all this, entertainment industry experience. And Kevin and I get a lot of comments about our little show, and somebody sent me an email the other day, and they were coming in the show, and they said, you have a face for radio. What do they mean by that? Is that some entertainment industry term or what?
I actually did that for a while too. I did a radio show.
Okay.
Joe Gentile had a station in Berkeley. It was an AM. I think we went 5 miles or something. The studio was in his apartment building on St. Charles Road. He had his antenna up there, and we used to do a morning show called Money Talks, and it was from 10 to 11 on Saturday mornings. And it was fun, and we were paying like $75 an hour for the radio time.
Okay.
And then we started getting real sponsors because I was doing it with a financial planner named Paul Garrett, and Paul actually got some of the mutual funds, municipal bond funds, stuff to sponsor us, so we were covering our costs.
Right.
Well, Joe Gentile heard that, and he raised our rate to $175 an hour. Well, you guys are making money now.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So we quit. But it was fun. What we used to do is. That was another thing, is from a marketing standpoint. It was really a marketing thing for us. We used to tape the show, okay, and this was back in the 90s as well. We used to tape the show, and two of us used to go on client referrals together, and we used to do a topic, say, okay, this week we're going to talk about municipal bonds, or we're going to talk about mutual funds. And we do a whole topic on it. And then we'd make copies of the show, and then we'd go out to a client and say, well, here's a radio show we did.
Yeah.
And it was like,
Well, we encourage people to use this.
Right, same kind of thing. That's a great idea.
So let me ask you this. So you've had a really interesting career. You've done the music, you've done the accounting, you've built the firm. What's next for you? What do you see in the next 3-4 years? What's your next thing you want to accomplish? You just kind of stay the course, or...
Well, I'm having a good time now, so I want to stay the course.
Right.
I like the way, it's taken a long time to get here. It doesn't happen overnight, and I'm having a ball working with my kids, and my sister's a paraprofessional, and it's fun. What's they always say? If you do what you enjoy, it's not work.
That's true.
For me, that's the way I feel about it.
Yeah.
I do what I enjoy, and it's not work. So. I mean, there's always days where you have somebody that's angry with you, or
of course
gets a tax notice and something doesn't work out.
Yeah.
But that's in anything.
Well, of course.
That's in anything.
Yeah, right.
It's in anything you do. So you roll with that, and I like it. I wish I could find more people. I really feel strongly about where we're going now, because I see we're kind of well positioned to grow. We're right in the right spot. You know, I mean, we're not too big, we're not too small. The last 2 clients we got were taken from much larger firms. Okay, and some of the larger firms, what they do is they price away. So they go to the next level and they say, we don't want you guys. So if I get a company with 38 million in sales, that's big for me. For Baker Tilly, it's nothing. You know what I mean? Or it's a small. To me, I'd tell the client, like, you know, do you want to be a big fish in a small pond, or you know, or small fish in a big pond? You know, where you want to be, where you're going to feel better. So, and I always tell the other thing I always tell clients too is that in one of my other niches is planning. I always tell a client, look, you can either make me an historian or you can make me a futurist. It's your choice. You want to be a historian? I can do your compliance work. That's what you'll get. You know, it's not. I don't think it's worth as much to you as me being a futurist, where I can sit down with you and help you get there. Let me help you get to your next level. Let me help you see where your costs are and what we can do better. Let me see if we can structure your business in a way that's going to make more sense. You know, those are the kind of items. Just like, you know, this rock band, they're getting compliance work, but no music industry help at all. You know, in terms of how the royalties are being paid, how they have a record label and a publishing company. The structure's all wrong. You know, I know how to fix that, and I know how to fix it that'll work with the music industry.
So, Jared, if someone wants to reach you either because they need your accounting help or maybe they need a job,
a job,
how can they reach you and your firm?
Well, we're at 630-261-0550. We're at 101 West 22nd Street, Lombard, Illinois. 60148. Catalano Cabor, Catalano Cabor. And our website is www.catboor.com, which is CATBOOR.com.
All right. Jim, how can people reach you?
Best is to give me a call, 630-272-3895. Kevin?
We were talking about Styx earlier. My high school girlfriend still has my Styx Greatest Hits CD. So, Sarah, if you're listening, you can return it by calling me 630-324-6666 and also schedule an initial consultation. And check out seizeyourbusiness.com for more podcasts and videos. So, thanks so much.